This is Asake Online. Welcome to Agriculture on Site. I'm your host, Busani Bafana. Recently, the Goat Breeders Association of Zimbabwe hosted a goat in Dube, which attracted farmers, researchers, producers, and other stakeholders in the goat value chain. A key topic of discussion was how do actually farmers market their goats? We'll hear today from presentations on the importance of marketing goats and also the potential of the business activities from goat farming.
I hear there's a lot of learning to be done. Yesterday, I think there was a training, a goat breeding training, and right now we're discussing methods. I hear about goats that live upstairs and others that live downstairs, that sort of thing. We're still finalizing, giving the pros and cons of why we must do upstairs versus downstairs. I come in right at the end, when you guys have sorted all of that out, when you guys have dealt with productivity, when you've dealt with numbers. I like the fact, I think I heard one of the gentlemen at the back, I didn't see who it was exactly. He spoke about buying out all your goats. I had someone talk about 300 goats. I know in our homesteads or in our areas, 300 goats is a lot. Maybe let me start with, for anyone who might not know what ZimTrade is, let me just talk about ZimTrade a little bit, give you who we are, what we do, why we do what we do, how we do it, and for whom. Then I'll move on to some stats about goat meat outside our borders. You know, I always wonder because whenever I get into a butchery, I'll speak for Velile here. How do you find goat meat? How do you find goat meat? And I ask myself, so all these goat breeders, where are they selling their meat? Unless there's not like a cartel, like drug dealers, where you guys have goat meat, and the rest of us have no access to it because I never find it at the butcher. So anyway, ZimTrade is the country's trade promotion organization. That's a very fancy way of saying it. I'll put it in simple terms. ZimTrade equals exports. ZimTrade equals exports. Exports, as we know, is when you sell a product or a service beyond your borders. That's the simplest definition I'll give for an export. So ZimTrade equals exports. Our primary objective is to find markets for local products and services. So we simply look for shelf space for locally produced goods and services. We do this in 4 main ways. The first one, market information. This is where we tell you what's hot, what's not. Where is this heat and at how much? So we go out and find out for you to say, okay, who's buying what? Where? At how much? And in what quantities? This information allows you to make what we know as informed decisions. When you sit down, maybe as a grouping or a board, if it's in a boardroom, and you say, according to ZimTrade, they said our product is needed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 markets in such quantities at such a price. When we do the math based on also our capacity, this is a good idea. Let's go into that market. So that's market information. We give you that information to allow you to make decisions, informed decisions. Secondly, export development. So we've told you who's buying what, where, and at how much. You're excited. You know, when you're still discussing things and planning, everything looks so feasible and possible. Do the maths and you're like, Peter, a million. We're going there. No. Wanting to export and actually exporting are 2 different things. So part of what we do, the second part is export development. This is where we train you and prepare you for the export market. We do things like, for instance, identification of markets. It's not just, there's a method to it. It's not just to woke up. You remember, I'll take us back. Do you remember just when we were dollarizing? That time when they were what we were calling them dollar shops, eh? Dollar shops. It started with 1 or 2. There was one in ZITE, Eskimo Hats, which is now chicken. I'm looking here, I'm not seeing any young people, so you understand what I'm talking about. it was just a couple of years ago, 2010, 2009. Eskimo Hut was the first one. Then, before you know it, every corner there was a dollar shop which was selling products. If you went into your mainstream markets, your TMs, your OKs, you couldn't find products. But the dollar shops had products, and because you would see Ubabalapa with the shop, and he's thriving, so to speak. And then I just decided, because he's open, I'm also open. Before I knew it, there were so many dollar shops, and when we formally dollarized and Pick and Pay partnered with TM and OK also then stabilized, what happened to those dollar shops? Gone. So there's going to be a method to why you're opening a shop. There's going to be a method. So we assist you as ZimTrade to say, how do you identify markets? How do you price for exports? How do you cost for exports? How do you, when you're now making sales, you must negotiate. It's not just a case of, I've got meat, how much, okay, done. No, there's going to be a back and forth negotiation. We teach you. Well, in this instance, maybe packaging might not be an issue for you guys because your product is meat, right? It's going out live, it's going out frozen in a box. Yeah, that's still packaging. It's going out maybe as carcasses, which are frozen, whichever way. But we also assist companies with branding and packaging for exports. I want to just talk a little bit about this one. I'm very passionate about it. Zimbabwean products and services generally are good. Content, super. Most of the time, because we don't have money to buy too many machines and equipment, we semi-process. So we're as close to organic and original as possible by default. So our product is good. But do you know where we lose the battle? Packaging. If anyone wants to argue with me, humor me here. I put these two products here. It's your first time ever seeing them, right? They changed. Let's work with me here. It's your first time you've never ever seen these products. On the left here is Mazoe Orange. On the right is Oros Orange. And I said to you, based on what you're seeing, pick one. Which one I like you to pick? I like you guys. You guys are very honest. Oros, why? Why would you pick Oros? It looks amazing, yeah? I mean, I always give the example, no pun intended. The bottle of Oros, huh? It's like curds. Mazoe is just straight. I'm just saying, no pun intended. And the color schemes, the pictures, everything. Oros just says, hey, psst, let's go home. Take me home, right? But when you get home, you all know, right? If you did a taste test, you know that Mazoe is by far the runaway leader. But unfortunately, on the international scene, you don't have the luxury of, hey, taste me, I'm good. You've got to be bought by how you look. And that's what we like. It cuts across crisps, chomkins. Look at our chomkins. All of them, I went with about 22 companies to the UK in 2022. FMCG, we're trying to go and find shelf space in Tesco, Asda, and Sainsbury's in the UK. That's like their Spar, GM, and OK, that side. My report on return was we're not yet ready for the shelves of the UK because of just that. Our products would have been cannibalized on the shelves. They would have rotted on the shelves of UK. A child born and bred in the UK would never pick Chomkins over Lay's or their version of crisps from the UK. So packaging is a big issue, branding and packaging. We help with that. The next thing, after we've taught you how to be able to stand firm and be ready for the export market is, export promotion. I'm sure some of you that follow ZimTrade or have seen ZimTrade here, ZimTrade is in Zambia, ZimTrade is in Angola, ZimTrade is in DRC. We'll be going out there with companies that we've trained and groomed for the export market to go and attend trade fairs, the different versions of ZITE of all those countries. We go and attend looking for markets. Last one is advocacy. So if you have problems, we encourage you as a sector to come to ZimTrade so that we can advocate for you collectively, as opposed to you going on your own. Let's say it's Ministry of Finance has put in a new bill that is affecting goat breeders. If you go on your own, you know you will not be lent an ear. But as ZimTrade, we go and say, hi, Professor Dube, we have a challenge. As we have been mandated to grow Zimbabwe's exports, we've realized that the goat breeders are having a problem with this new bill that you put in. Please, could we revisit it? We tend to get more success when we go that way. So, now that we're all here with those ZimTrades and what we do, can I get into the goat side of things? Like I said, for starters, my role or our role is tertiary. You need to get your numbers in check. You need to get your breeding. You need to get your pens in the Middle East. I've been there twice, Dubai, Qatar. Over and above our blueberries, the next thing they ask about is goat meat. Can you guys supply us goat meat? There's that notion that our meat, I think it's from back in the days, CSC, is good quality, it's organic, it's healthy, it doesn't have GMO elements, so we're already writing on that. That's a good thing. But quantities, it's a numbers game. For now, I don't even entertain when people come and talk to me about goat meat and they say, I want to export. I'm hesitant to even continue that conversation because of the numbers. I'll give an example. Typical order, 5 tons per month. This is just an individual, it's not even country to country. 5 tons per month, and they tie you to a contract. Because those people, their climate is so bad. I don't know who has ever been unfortunate to go to Qatar in July. You don't want to go there. If you think what you're experiencing is hot, no. It's a fairness. The most I did outside, standing outside, was about 3 minutes. I could not stomach it. It's that hot. There are cars, like what we're doing now, the session, the cars will be running. So that the moment you get out, there's aircon. When you get in the bank, the car is left running. Because they can't, you know how when we get here, we open our windows and you wait for like 35 minutes, that's too much. The heat is too much. So there's no farming that they do. They cannot rear goats that side. Most of the few vegetables that they farm, it's your greenhouses. Now you can't feed an entire nation on that. So they rely on imports, from tomatoes to your onions, to your butternut, sweet potato, you name it. So I was asked, I go to one of their biggest supermarkets, which is like, it's called Carrefour. I think it's like Pick and Pay, like I need to Pick and Pay. And the beauty of the Middle East also is they are an authority unto themselves. They do not bow to anyone. They don't have to first check to say, can I deal with him? Is it okay for us to deal? No. If they like your story, order. I was given a trial order of a container of butternut, container of potatoes, container of sweet potatoes, container of tomatoes, and onions. Each trial order. Just after having introduced myself, I am Velile, I'm from ZimTrade. I represent Zimbabwe's horticultural sector, or whatever it is that we want to. For them, I was talking especially about horticultural produce. The guy was like, no, look, we know Zimbabwe, we know about your blueberries. It's fine. Can I give you a trial order? Just like that, I phoned back home. Hey guys, please speak to the farmers. Trial order. Could I get responses? At times you guys put pressure on us, and right now, hey, I want to sell. I come back with results. Last week we had buyers. We had a buyers seminar last week here in Blawa and in Narade, where we brought 17 buyers from different countries. And we said, listen, and there's that statement, rather hear from the horse's mouth, eh? There's the horse. Speak to the horse. So people had B2B sessions, and afterwards, they actually went to see some companies to say, okay, you say you make clothes, let's really see what you do. As I speak up in this week, emails have been flying. People are sending price lists. Hopefully they can do some trade. some trial orders will happen. But I'm happy to mention that that was a fruitful exercise. But when I went to Qatar and Dubai, when trial orders, they were not made, quantities. So this person, this organization will tie you down to a contract, 12, 18, 24 months, where every month, 5 tons of goat meat must go out. Are we ready? Are we ready? That's just one, that's one. That's not even a supermarket. That was an individual who was supplying as a broker, supplying restaurants and like some government institutions, not to say it's a supermarket. I can imagine if we were to then get the TM of that side. They'll be talking 20, 30 tons. Are we ready? Question. So that's why I said my role, or our role as ZimTrade, is at the end, when we sort out our capacity. Allow me to touch on the last bit of my presentation, which is clusters. So we realized as ZimTrade that individuals don't have the capacity to meet some export requirements. You know, like I said, 300 goats sounds like a lot, but for export market it's not. My brother at the back spoke about, I can come and buy your entire pen and you're left with nothing. That's very possible. If we do exports, that's what you're going to supply once, and that's it. You're out. You know, you have to wait to breed again. So now, the concept that we have come up with as ZimTrade is the cluster program. What in simple is, it's people coming together for a common cause. We all want to export goat meat, but we realize that the requirements for exports are a little bit above my capacity. But if I'm maybe doing 500 goats, and there's 30 of us doing 500 goats, we might be able to do a year of supply. Remember, at the same time, those goats are still breeding. So as you sell some, others are being born. That sort of thing. So what we've been doing as ZimTrade is coming up with clusters for different fields or sectors. I'll give you an example. This week, I arrived last night. This whole week, I was in Night North. I have a cluster there that I'm working with for beekeepers. They have, I think it's about 300 hives on one site, and another site has got about 100 hives. The idea is to capacitate them to produce more honey for the export market. We got an order, standing order, South Africa, 20 tons every 3 months. Now, one person can't manage that. But if we group them together, it's not only in Metnod, we also have another one in Vitare, and there's another one in Chikoma, in Mashonaland. When they put their efforts together, that 20-ton order is possible. For this, we're almost there. We're almost there. So, if, as goat breeders, you are agreeable, the cluster model is one that we're looking at in ZimTrade. We want a situation where you guys come together, being handheld by ZimTrade. We already start with the market. We look for the market. So we get a market for you. Then we start working backwards to say, okay, do we have a goat improvement center? Where are we going to put the headquarters of this cluster? Is it going to be Mansell? I know Gwanda is known for goats. So we already have plans in place for putting, right now we're in budget season. We've put plans, and I'm the one who's going to be running with this. That's why I came to make this presentation. We will have, hopefully, there's a site we picked. We're here to go and engage the elders there. We want to put a goat improvement center. The idea is to work with jeepers to say, can we get goats from that region? Because already that's its strength. Mansell, Gwanda, you seem to already have a comparative advantage with regards to goat keeping. Can we have that being our pilot site where we start the cluster? Members will be contributing. Goats will be brought to the center, they're improved, and there are abattoirs that are being halal certified. for us to be able to go and slaughter the goats there, because if we're going to the Middle East, the halal issue is a must. Over and above other requirements, the most important, one sticking point is halal. If you don't get halal, that's it. No matter if you've got Wagyu goat meat, you will not enter the Middle East without halal. So we're looking at some halal abattoirs that are going to be then certified according to the Middle East standards. There is a halal association in South Africa that we have booked to come and inspect our abattoirs so that they can be halal certified. So once we start the project, we know we're taking our goats there in preparation for the Middle East. So this is a call to say your leadership for GPAs is aware of this goat cluster that we're planning. Those that may not be aware, maybe when you have your meetings, engage. Next year, it's in our plans. We're hoping to start. Of course, exports will not be next year, probably the year after. We need a couple of trial runs because we need to get the right breed, we need to get the right size. You know, exporters or importers are very particular. I'll give you an example. Those doing crocodile, Louis Vuitton and Gucci buy their croc skins from Binga. Binga. Louis Vuitton, Binga. They will tell you for their bags, they want the crocs at 30 centimeters. So in the 30 centimeters, slaughter, you do the tanning, ship out the hides as is. If it's even more than 30 centimeters, it's rejected. They're very particular. So we need to also understand, as ZimTrade, we will guide you because we're working with the buyer. We then guide you to say, okay, the quality of meat that's required is this. The size is this. And we work on it. So I want to manage our expectations to say we won't be exporting next year when we start. Probably next or next year. Let's make a few mistakes locally so that when we go out, we're sort of perfect-ish. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, as honorable mayor said, I will stop here.